Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, YouTube. Today we're gonna talk about books, reading. So, good topic for now. My name is Epaminondas Sá, if you don't know me, and today I am with me, Jefferson and Nicole, to talk about this topic. Nicole, please, could you introduce yourself for us?
Sure. I am Nicole. I am 22 and I live in a small city near Curitiba with my fiance and my two cats, Ingrid e Manjericão. Ingrid is here. Oh, peraí. And she's a little crazy today, and I'm taking care of her. And I don't know. My hobbies in my free time, I like to read books. So this topic is really interesting for me. And I like to take care of my plants. And I don't know. I think it's it.
Pretty good. Manjericão it's a beautiful name for a cat. Beautiful name, Manjericão. I like it. Jeff, your turn.
Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, the world. We here with my friend Nondas and Nicole. Nicole, I think it's not from Brazil, this name, Nicole Brito. I'm Jefferson. I live here in Goiânia, Goiás, the most beautiful city of Brazil because I live here. I have a lot of friends. I'm economist, professor of Catholic University of Goiás. I like Nicole. I like to read books. I don't like I don't like cell phone. Most of the time I'm far away from my cell phone. And I love to walk. I love to play soccer, to play canastra. I love to play canastra, to drink beer sometimes, and make friends.
Very good, very good. Thank you. And for me, I really like to read books. I'm reading more nowadays because in the past I was so, but now I want to read more and I bought some books here. I have good books here. And let's talk about this. Um, the number one, what kind of book do you like? Jeff, what kind of book do you like? About gender, what style do you like to
Yeah.
read?
First, I need to read books about economics. As a profession, reading all the time books about economics. I have here near for me, I have one, two, three, four, five, six books that I'm reading now about the Brazilian economy and about financial. I teach financial too. I written it about financial. And I love to read books about politician. I have a big friend, is Vladimir Safatli. I read a very good book about philosophy, sociology, and the situation of Brazil. It's a very interesting book. What else? And books about history. I love to read books about history.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you. And you, Nicole, what kind of book do you like to read?
Well, I don't like to read books about professional things. I hate, to be honest. So I need to read some books about design, but it's my obrigação. I don't know. And I like to read like thriller, sci-fi, um, fantasy. I hate to read romance and this kind of books, but sci-fi and fantasy, it's my favorite. I think. I think.
Okay. Okay. I I like to read books about philosophy, books that make me think about my life, my future, my decision. So I like to learn through the book. So books that make me think I really like, I really appreciate. I don't like to read uh, books like you said about romance. So it's not my, but I try to read in English, but it doesn't work for me. I I read technical books about nutrition, about exercise, things like that, and English and Portuguese. So it's good for me. It's work for me. And I have some books here, and I really like to about minds. I like to learn about mind, how my mind works, minds in general works. So I like this kind of book. Maybe this is my favorite kind of book. Um, what is your favorite book or favorite author? Nicole, let me know. Do you have a favorite book?
I don't know. I I have to think a little. I think my favorite author is Agatha Christie because I like to mystery books and I read everything she wrote. So I have maybe 60 books about it, only murders and mystery. And I think it's and my favorite saga is Eragon, which are about dragons and high medieval sci-fi fantasy, high fantasy. And I don't know, I have to think. It's many books I read, so I never made a list.
I had a list about my books, but I have to to put more because I'm reading and I don't put the name in the list, so I forget, and it doesn't work nowadays for me. I don't know if I have a favorite book.
I think I have a one. I'm sure
Which book?
my it's the man who fell on Earth. It's about an alien who it's I think it's é dos anos 60, uma ficção científica. And it's about an alien which fell on Earth and they mix on the society and become rich and they have a plan to take all the population from his planet to us. And it's a book about how the society can be bad and how society can be angry and do mal and all have a lot of philosophy and reflections about the worst part of the humans, and the end is really sad, I think, but it makes you think about our society. It's a good
Yeah,
one. I read it
good.
maybe 3 times.
Good, good. Thank you. And you, Jeff, I can see a lot of books there. So, do you have a favorite
2000,
book, favorite author?
2000 books here I have here.
A lot
And
of
I
books.
have 200 by ebook too. I read a lot of ebooks now. I used to read 5 or 6 books by month. And what's my favorite book? I really don't know. I have a lot of books. Some books I used to read a lot, like, for example, Yuval Harari, 3 good books. Very interesting about the future. Yuval Harari, it's a very good guy that I used to reread uh, so many times. I use this kind of books. And economics, I used to read so many times the books. because I need to read to prepare about, as I said, financial. I don't have my favorite books. And about philosophy too, I have a lot of books about philosophy. The other side over there about philosophy. And sometimes I used to read the classical philosophy books. I love to read about Descartes, Francis Bacon, Rousseau, and so on. And the other side, books about the world, about history of the world. I love to read. I have a very good book about Alvin Toffler, the big transformation of the world. It's very interesting to think about the future. I love to think about the future. And now I'm reading some books about artificial intelligence, something very interesting that I'm reading now. And just to finish, I read recent about good books, my favorite books about China. I'm reading a lot about China because I participate with a group of of people from around the world about China. Or WhatsApp group. It's very interesting when we discussing about the China, the future of China, the big challenges of China.
Very good. A lot of books. Oh, interesting. Pretty good. Pretty good. And do you remember what is your last book that you read? The
In
name
my case,
or not?
yes, I finished to read a very good book. I reread this book, How to Lie with Statistics. It's a very
Oh,
amazing,
yeah.
it's an amazing book that I think everybody must read. It's a book by Daryl Huffey. Daryl Huffey. It's a classic book that explores how statistics can be manipulated. It's very interesting. A lot of case and how statistics may be misinterpreted. And you sometimes you must to have to decide something, or how the statistics mislead the people. For example, about a survey, you have a lot of cases in economics and in your area about pharmacies, about medicines, that you manipulated the people, used to say this is the best medicine of the world. And you see the survey only with few people. You can conclude it's the best medicine of the world. It's impossible. But when you see the advertisement, you must take care about this. It's not the best. And other case that the book highlighted, it's a various technique, an example how statistics and how statistics can be a big problem, it's a moral problem, moral problem because you eluded the consumers, you eluded the people. You can use in politician too, like fake news and so on. So you have a lot of figures that not the reality.
Yeah. I have this book in my Kindle, but I haven't read yet. But good to know. I put in the first place in my line of books. So I really want to read this book. Nicole, do you remember your last book or not?
The last I finished, I was looking what was the last, and I think it's Way of Kings, the Brandon Sanderson. I finished in middle of February, so it's a book with 1,500 páginas, and I take a 2 months to read them, so it's hard to remember. And now I'm reading 3 or 4 books, so I my head is confused with it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Um, uh, Nowadays I'm trying to read one book, only one book, and finish and go to the next book because no, I have the habit to read a lot of books at the same time. So I don't know, but at morning I read one specific book. In the afternoon I read other book. In the other day I started other book because oh this book so interesting I want to read. And when I see I'm reading I don't know 5 books at the same time and I don't finish mm, one book in a specific, so it's not good for me. But for me, my case, the last book that I read was Nação Dopamina, I think. Interesting book. Talk about the our time, the people using a lot of smartphones and other uh, uh, source of dopamine and how these change our mind and our see to face the life. So interesting book. I was reading. And now I'm reading other book called Sociedade do Cansaço. Sociedade do Cansaço. So interesting book. Hard to. It's interesting because when I'm reading books like that, so I don't know if I really alfabetizado because it's hard to understand some topics and I have to read again and again and again to understand the it's hard but it's important to read hard books. So yeah, my last book was Nação Dopamina and nowadays I'm trying to read Sociedade do Cansaço, but it's interesting book.
This
But it's
author
hard.
is really good. I like.
Yeah, I don't know how to spell her name, but it's good. I have some books from her from him. I have this other one, No Enxame, from the same author. So I like, but I try to force to understand. It's good. It's good to do it. Um,
I tried to start reading Favor Fechar os Olhos, and it's. I think it's more easy to start, but really, well, eu sou alfabetizada. I don't know.
yeah, exactly this. I feel like this. Oh, I can't understand. So maybe I'm not. Oh, but yeah, it's good. It's good to force us to understand, and because if we just read easy books, so it's important to. It's like muscle. Our mind is like muscle. We have to force sometimes to understand and to up. Um, but let's go to the number three or four. Four. In Brazil, the people doesn't use to read books. Why do you begin to read books? Jeff, why do you begin to read books?
That's the point. The last search that I have read about this, the Brazilian people used to read less than the Chilean people and the people from Argentina. Can you imagine the situation that we're living now? Terrible. You can see by the results from PISA. So something very interesting. PISA, you have maths and Portuguese, and terrible the situation of the Brazilian. And why the question the people doesn't use to read books is depend. It depend. I think it's depend of the family where you live. If you live in a family that everybody used to read a lot of books, so you go to read a lot of books. And if you live in my case, with a lot of professors and students and some kinds of WhatsApp group about intellectuals from Brazil the, and around the world, you need to read books. So it's very, very interesting. But if you live with a lot of guys that use cell phone all the time, just see TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and so on, come on, get out of this people. Because it's impossible. It's impossible. So when I go, for example, to the doctor, I used to go with my book. I love to read my book. And the guys used to say, "Come on, Jefferson, you don't like to see your cell phone. Come on, I'm not here to see the news. I have the right time to read the news." So I think the big problem is, it's, as I said, it's a cultural problem. Unfortunately, Brazil is reading every day less books. Unfortunately. And I think the big problem, as I said, where you live, who you live, who will talk, and about the gadgets, especially smartphone. Terrible.
And why do you start to read, begin to read books? Do you remember?
Yes, when I was too young, I remember when I was 14 years old, I loved to play soccer. I used to play all the time. I didn't like to study. But I remember my birthday with a lot of friends, and my father, it's a very poor father, asked to the guys, "What about Jeffers? Do you think he'll be Pelé?" And I said, "No." So my father said, "I think you must change. Stop playing soccer and go to study." So I began to study reading books, a lot of books. Just from when I was 14 years old and until now. I never stopped. Just an example, when I finished my doctorate in Brasilia, in UNB, my thesis, I read 126 books and articles to finish my thesis. And a lot of guys said, "Come on, Jeff, you're very crazy. How can you read so many books and articles to do a thesis?" And I said, "But I love to read."
Yeah, it's work. It's work. Oh, very good. And you, Nicole, about the number four? Let me know.
I started to read very soon, and like Jeff, I was my mom gave me books and make me create this interest. So I never stopped, and I don't have a family who likes to read and have this habit, but I have a friend, and I grew up learning with him, and we have like a books club because I read and he read and we talk about. So nowadays, I think we don't have more this contact anymore, but sometimes I have internet have the social media have a good community about books and readers, and I like to follow this people and know how the the book society is what they are reading and taking references and taking indications. So I never stopped to reading what I like. I just start to reading what I don't like because it's my my job. So I think it's it. I don't know how many books I read now in my life, but now I have Scooby, which are social media about books, and I am following what I'm reading the last years.
Good, very good. In my case, when I was more younger than now, I hated book to read and especially read books, because in the school you have to read some books that it's it's recommended that, but I hate it. I didn't like to read. But after I started to read books that I like the subject. My first book that I read, I think it was about fishing. So I like to fishing. So my first book was about fishing. And I realized that I my problem is not books. My problem is it's the subject. So I started to read books that I liked and about uh, things that I like in general. And until now, I read a lot of books every single year, and I'm a little worried about the people that doesn't like to read, that don't read, as like Jeff said, because it's easier to be in a fake news, and we have a lot of fake news nowadays. And from my perspective, a lot of people it's not able to think deeper, and the book help us to think deeper, to have a critical thinking. So, but it's hard. But nowadays I read a lot. I have a lot of books here, and normally I think I am a little addicted to buy books, not to read books, but I buy a lot of books. Maybe a book that I can't read in my life, but maybe if I want, that's a book here, so I can read. So yeah, that's all. So yeah, it's hard, but it's important to know how. It's important to know how and after to try. But yeah, that's it. But I like to I like fishing, and when I go to the Goiás, we have some sitio, I don't know in English, and I fish there. So it's good. It's good. I'm not a good fisher, but I try. And guys, let me know about the number five. What do you like more, physical books or ebooks, and why? Let me know. What do you think about the idea of ebooks, and of do you prefer physical books? Let me know, and why do you prefer? Jeff, you said that you have a lot of ebooks and physical books. What do you prefer? Let me know the pros and cons.
I'm changing my mind a lot and very fast, very fast. In the past, I have a lot of prejudice about ebooks, prejudice, a lot of prejudice about books. Because I have, for example, I have a book here. This is a book I'm reading. I'm, I'm reading now, and I have a lot. I used to put a lot of notes and ideas. I used to read in red with pencil, pen, and so on. And for me, this is very amazing because I talk with the book all the time. When I have an idea, I subscribe here. I put in a paper and so on. Very, I'm very organized about this. Uh, and now with ebooks, I'm doing the same. We have a lot of technicians that we can use with ebooks. I'm
Technologies,
doing,
maybe.
yeah, technologies, yeah, technology better, and I'm doing the same with this. You can put the colors in red, right, a lot of quality. It's very interesting, and I put when I have a good idea, I put in for example, green. And when I read something that I have doubts, I put in red. I have doubts, put in red. And when I have something just It's not important, but I need to read, I put in yellow. So when I will read the book again, I remember, oh, this is very interesting. And you can put a lot of notes too using ebook. I used to do this with it's not Kindle. I saw with Kindle. I have Kindle, but I'm not use Kindle anymore. But I use with PDF, Adobe Acrobat Read. I used to use this almost every day. So the answer, the idea, yes, I love books, but I love physical books, and I'm changing. I'm like Raul Seixas. I'm uh, metamorphose,
Metamorphosis? Yeah.
ambulante in Portuguese. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like you because it's the person that like to read, the most important thing is read, learn. So the we can learn through the ebooks or books, but nowadays I'm preferring to read books, but I really appreciate ebooks. For example, as you said before, when I go to the doctor, I'm in a line, I'm waiting for it's simple, it's lighter, so it's interesting to it's good for me. So I can change the form of the letters and the size. I can take notes. It's easier to find the notes that I put here because I can search for the notes and it's interesting. But I have my tablet at the same time. So I have a pen and I can write in the PDF and take notes. So it's interesting way. But to be honest, my passion is physical books. I really appreciate ebooks, but I like the smell of uh, a new book. So to touch in to the plastic and yeah. So it's for me it's better, but I really appreciate the two types of books. The most important is learn. So, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Nicole, and you? Do you prefer ebooks, physical books? Let me know.
I think both, but I like to physical books, but it's so expensive that I can't have I want in my when I become older have a library like Jefferson. And I made a mistake when I was a teenager that I sell all my books because I have a phase. And now I'm trying to make my library again. So I have only 100 books, I think. So, but my virtual library is strong, firme e forte in my Google Drive. I think I have hundreds of books that I downloaded in suspicious ways. And I have Kindle, I have physical. I don't know what I prefer because Kindle you can read in the dark. So I like to read when I go sleep. So I think I read more in Kindle than the physical, but only because I need to read when the lights are turned off. And I start to learn. I start to reading in my tablet when I was a kid because the it's more easy to learn and it's I think in all my life I read more ebooks than physical books. So I like more. I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, good, good. My Kindle, there's no this technology Unfortunately, I have to get other Kindle, but I will not do it for now. But I really like to read in everywhere, in every situation. But my Kindle doesn't have lighter, so it's hard. But okay, for me it's okay. I like to read in
The
my
good part, it's the battery, né?
yeah, yeah. It's hard at the same time, but okay, for me it's okay. That's no problem. But if I had, it was good. But let me know, Jeff. There was one important lesson that you learned from books. I know that there is a lot of lessons, but I don't know, one, two lessons that you learned.
Okay, we have a bunch of them, but let me try to resume. I think that the first one is personal growth. You you must think about yourself. What kind of book that can means personal development and self improvement. So I love when I read something that I recognize the value of learning from the experience, the insights of others. I love, for example, reading book about Winston Churchill, Pope Francis. That I read a book now, very interesting. I love Pope Francis, and a book about Yuval Harari. So all these kind of books, it's a value because I'm learning the experience from these guys. And I think about intellectual stimulation, it's very interesting because when you read, you stimulate your mind, you improve your vocabulary. As you said, you must read in English. I used to read in English and Spanish, and and you must think about skills, about challenges, and how can you how can you think deeply about some subject? Sometimes I need to read more than one book about some subject, and that's it. It's very interesting because you engage with complex ideas, and I love this. And just to finish, the others are about educational and knowledge. I need to read every day, reading books in an excellent way to acquire knowledge on various subjects. As I said, I love to read about economics. Most of the time I read about economics, but I love to read about history, about science, about artificial intelligence, about philosophy, and I don't like to read literature. I don't know why. I don't know. I have I have a lot of books here in the past. I used to read Machado de Assis and etc. etc. But I don't know what's happened with me. Maybe in the future I will back to live about literature.
Uh, Me either, but it's okay. So I'm working the same format like you. I didn't like, but okay. Nicole, and you, let me know a lesson.
I'm more a literature girl, so I don't like to read about economics and this kind of things. But one thing I think be a reader makes me was to search everything at the font. So when I am I like I like to know more about the philosophy of Camus. I don't will go to search a video in YouTube. I will take a book he wrote and I will read. Even I don't understand everything, I will know more about the her thinking than I don't know, a resume or something like this. So always I have an interest in a subject, I will go to the font, and I like this type of learning.
Very good, very good. And for me, I totally agree with you guys because I think read is harder than watch a video, for example, on YouTube. So I think I'm a I'm a personal trainer. I work as a personal trainer, and I see this kind of thing in the same way. For example, it's important to read an interesting book and to go deeper in this book and to know more about the subject. And it's harder. It's a challenge. So, but it's important to do it because you will be better and your mind and culture. So it's important for me. I think read books is so important for us as a society in general because we learn how to train our mind. So I think it's a good way to learn. And in the other hand, I think it's so cheaper. Some books are expensive, yes, but when I think, for example, uh, this book, Rápido e Devagar, this book. So here there's I don't know 10 or 20 years of experience, research, and I don't know, 50 reais. So it's so cheaper in front of a lot of years that the author was researching and creating and thinking. So I think it's the best way to improve us is read. So for me, my lesson is to be better and self. Yeah, thank you. Self knowledge. So you know more about you, your limits, and you know more about other subjects. So I think it's the best way to grow. So read is so important for me. Um, Jeff, you
Yeah,
pick up a
just
book.
a point. This is the best book if you think about to be an investor. You must to control your sentiment and control everything about when you were put money in the financial markets. And this is the best book I consider the best book of the world for you because you just think about to win and you're not prepared to lose. And this book is a very good book. I recommended this book for a good investor.
Very good, very good. So I'm the right way. So I really appreciate this kind of book that make me think about my mind and the culture and the noise that there's around us. So I think it's important to know. But yeah, for me, that's the lesson that I had about books. Um, Number 7. Is lend book a problem for you? And have you ever lent book to your friends and never got them back? I don't know, but I don't like to lend a book, especially special books for me. I prefer to buy a book for the person and then give it then lend my books. I don't know if you are the same way, but let me know. Jeff, there's a problem for you or no problem?
This is an old question. It's impossible now. Everything is e-book. How can you land an e-book? I want the
The
return
book
of
is
my
easier.
book. So that's a very good question. But I have three big problems. Two big problems. Because as a professor, I teach not only in undergraduate but post-graduation course too. And I remember 10 years ago, the three good books, classical books that I lent to students, and I never saw that book again. And I asked a lot of times, "Oh, my book! I don't know where is your book?" And you can find this book, unfortunately, now. But I had for a long time ago, I had to buy the books again. So it's a terrible situation. I don't like. I use not to lend my books. because a book is something very special. As I said, I take my books. You were talking about the tipping points, for example. You're talking here. I confuse with the turning point. It's a very interesting book that I bought this in New York. It's very interesting, and I have a lot of things that I wrote here. How can I lend this book? This is something personal because the book is the book in my life. This is part of my life. Everything I put in a book. How can I lend my ideas to other person? I don't like
Yeah,
this.
I totally feel you. Totally feel you. And nowadays with ebooks it's easier. So, oh, I can send for you the ebook. I don't know, but it's easier than we take notes on the book. So it's impossible to learn. Nicole, and you, let me know.
Yeah, I'm really jealous about my books. So if you want, just download the ebook. So, like Jefferson, I have a book, a special one, which are the Ensaios e Anseios Críticos from Paulo Leminski. And I wrote all my life in this book, and I take a lot of notes. So I cannot, sabe, emprestar this book. It's my book. And I have another ones that I am really jealous about. Jealous? No, I have ciúme, and uh, I cannot just, you know, you cannot touch them. It's mine.
Yeah, I know, I know. I really know how this works. Uh, so we don't have a lot of time. Let me think about one short question here. Uh, Let me know. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. The last one. Please recommend some interesting book for us. Maybe one, two, I don't know, maybe your favorite book or the book that you had a turning point because of that book. I don't know, but recommend some books, interesting book for us. Do you have one in your mind, Jeff? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted, Jeff.
Sorry.
Okay.
Storytelling with data. It's a very interesting book if you like to work with figures, with numbers, and advertisement, and so on. And the other book that I've recommended is that the classical book that I use for how to lie with statistic. I think it's a it's a very good book. And what else? And we have a book from Felipe Neto. The is the owner of the Quest. It's a it's an agency that work with numbers with and etc. The biography of the abscess. It's a very interesting book in Portuguese about our, if you like, politics. It's a very interesting about the numbers, about the how Lula and Bolsonaro and others uses good strategy to win the election. It's a very interesting the way he wrote the book.
Sorry, what's the name in Portuguese? The last book?
Biografia do Abscesso. It's a terrible
Okay.
name, but it's a very interesting. It's
Okay, thank
biography
you.
of the abscess. Yeah.
Good, good. And you, Nicole?
I have a lot of literature books to recommend, so but you guys don't like, so I am thinking in something about my mind. And a good one, it's O Homem que Confundiu Sua Mulher com o Chapéu. It's a neurologist book about the generics disease and questions of how your imagination works and how your brain works. And it's various cases about the different brains and different patients which the doctor have. And it's a good one to start thinking about um, disease. And I like this one. I don't know even why I like, but I like.
Okay, okay. I will take note here about the name to search for after this immersion. And for me, I don't know, but I really appreciate the book, uh, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. So so inspirational book. I really appreciate the book. Okay, thank you. Um, Let me know other book. This is a good book in English, but it's a good book. .com Secrets. So this is a book that makes us to think about how the internet influence us, how the people can influence us, the techniques. So it's interesting if you want to use or
I
if you want
watched the
to
movie.
understand.
You have a movie from this book, yeah.
Very good. So it's interesting to understand this context. So it's a good book, only in English, but it's a good book. Um, and my next book that I read, this book here, it's pretty book. So pretty name. Let me know if I can. Oh, baby. Okay. Epaminondas, o gato explicador. So I read I read this book because it's so beautiful, the name of this book, and
You're
it
kidding
met
with
with
us.
me.
Come on, Epaminondas, Epaminondas.
Epaminondas, o gato explicador. So interesting book from Clóvis de Barros Filho. I really appreciate Clóvis de Barros Filho. So this is my recommendation for you guys. Uh, and yeah, that's all. That's all for today. It's so interesting to talk about books. Thank you, Nicole, for the link. And I put the link here about the survey from this immersion. So if Nicole, you like cats, so maybe it's an interesting book for you. Uh, and
I will read this book to put them
okay,
to sleep
okay,
at night.
okay. So guys, please go to the link and let me know, evaluate this immersion. And that's all for today. Take care. Have a great week, great day, and see you next week. Bye, guys.